Well, hello and welcome to another DCOA, which is Drake Council on Aging tutorial. And I have paint on, on my glasses. I know those of you who know me will be absolutely shocked by that. But now that I have cleaned them, I can see you a lot totally better. Less, yes. Okay, Joan Turner. I am Joan Turner, and I have done several tutorials, many tutorials, for the Drake Council on Aging on Mammoth Road in Drake. And the director there is Bethany Lovelace, and she is absolutely awesome and came up with the idea of while people were kind of isolating and at home, let's do some art tutorials for them. I am their in-house artiste, or at least I was before the pandemic hit, and now I'm their art tutorial person. Okay, so we have done a number of them. Today we are going to do one that is way too much fun. You're gonna love this. This is, I call it my moon mandala, and it is a bunch of dots, let me tell you. And you could, this is the colors that we're gonna use, and we are using acrylic paints, black, blue, and white. And again, these are acrylic paints. And if you're, Drake It Council on Aging has passed out a number of art kits, all right? And in the art kits, there is paint, there is brushes, and canvases. Okay, so beside the paint, you absolutely do need a canvas, all right? So canvas, you can use a canvas, you can paint on a board, you can use any canvas that you want. You could paint on wood. So for those do-it-yourselfers who maybe are not using the tutorial art kits from Drake It, and you have your own, that absolutely a-okay. All right. So for those of you who are using the kits, all right, this is going to be the smaller canvas or canvas panels. All right. And I believe the ones handed out with the kits might be 8 by 10s, right? But again, anything is actually okay. All right, we're using, besides the paints and the canvases. All right, now this canvas, I have painted it, and you can see a little bit of a blue hue because I painted it black. And then after it dried, I put a second coat of black and I mixed some of the blue in it. All right, so you want to make sure that your canvas has 2 coats of paint on it. And if you'd like to mix a little blue in yours, you go right ahead. Or if you want to change the color scheme altogether, feel free to do that. Okay, but I'm going to say um, pick, you could pick pink, white, and maroon, or peach, or any color that you want. And if you don't have those colors and you would like to, in your kits, if that's what you have basic primary colors, which are red, yellow, and blue, which primary just means that they can't be made, okay? You have to buy them already created. But once you have those, then you can mix any color you want, all right? So besides having the primaries, you might have some secondary colors like green or purple. And you should have white and black, right? So you mix white with anything and you get a very soft hue or value. Black, you can gray it, any color, certainly. But if you decide that you wanted, um, say you wanted a light green, you could mix blue and yellow. Blue and yellow are 2 primary colors. Mix them together, you get a secondary color, which is green. If you decide you want a mint green, add some white to it or add some yellow to it, and then you'll get a nice bright green. Okay, so you're really only limited as far as you can stretch your imagination. And I can stretch mine way more than an elastic or anything like that. So we are in my studio here in Bradford, and you can get a hold of me on my Facebook page, which is Jones Art Gallery of Haverhill, and that's on Facebook. You can get a hold of me through my cell phone, 978-807-7608. And I want to thank you for all the calls and the cool pictures I'm getting. Keep them coming. I want to say hello to Judy and to Gail and actually to Jim as well. So we had some really cool conversations. There were some questions about color and all kinds of things. Keep them coming. I want to see what you're doing. Attach your pictures to a text so that I can see them. Cell number 978-807-7608. And that's me. All right. You can also attach them to an email. It's Jonissa, Joan as in Nancy, S as in Stephen, A at Comcast.net. Okay, so you can get a hold of me. You can ask me questions, but by all means, share those pictures. And again, thank you to those people and more. Okay, so it gets a number of phone calls and stuff. It's very cool, and the pictures are cool too. So you'll need a canvas, and you want it pre-painted and dry. 2 coats. All right. You're going to change the color scheme. You can change the color scheme. You are the creator. You need the paints. All right. To do this picture, you could draw a circle. You could use a compass, certainly, but I actually just used a paper plate, or I'm going to use a paper plate. And so I'm going to, make okay, this one. Okay, so we're going to make an outline like this of the big black circle. And then I'm going to take a smaller plate and do the inner circle like this. Okay, and I'll show you as I go along how I'm doing that. All right, so you might want to have a big plate and a smaller plate available. You're also going to need a ruler because we are going to do that little star in the middle. So we're going to make some guidelines for that. Okay, so you will need a palette. As a palette, I am using paper plates. You can use a real palette. You can use any waxy dish type thing. You can use a real dish. I have one person who uses a real dish, a porcelain dish, as her palette. Now when she's done, she rinses it out and reuses it again. Okay, so whatever you want is absolutely fine. So the other thing that you will need is some dabbing or dotting tools. Right now, there are dotting tools out there that look like this and this. Okay, so here we were using them earlier today, so I have paint on them. Okay, so these are some dotting tools. All right, if you have them, fine. If you don't, even better, because you can use just about anything to dot. One of my favorite things to use, and you can tell by the paint that's all over it, is one of these dabbing. You could use a bingo dauber, actually, that would work too. But this is a bottle with a dropper connected to it, and these are really good to do dotting work with. These are really easy. So if you have a number of different size ones, that's very cool. This is a cap to something. I don't remember what it is now, right? But you can use this to make some smaller dots. This my eye drops because this eye gets a little dry, so I'm like always putting eye drops in. You can use your eye drop bottle, both sides, up and up. That works out well. My favorite homemade tools are actually a pencil, okay, because one side of the pencil you can use the eraser. You can use the eraser to do some dotting, and you can also use the tip of the pencil. Now this one is not a sharp point because I like it blunt so that I can get a dot on there that I can see. You could get really small dots using a skewer. In case you do shish kebab or something cool like that, you can use one of these. And again, there is a flat side on some of them, okay, and a pointy side on some of them. So you can use those to dot. Some of my favorite dotting tools are knitting needles and crochet hooks. Okay, this is a knitting needle. Look how tiny that is. Okay, these are a little bit bigger. Okay, so what the goal is here is to get a number of different size dotting tools. So we want to go from quite large, okay, like by this white one and some of these big guys in here, and to all the way to small, okay, which is going to be kind of like this. I have had people who have taken pencils like this and super glued pennies and quarters and stuff to the bottom of these, and they use them like dotting tools. So there is no limit. Again, you know, your imagination is the only limit you actually have. Okay, I'm going to remind you to wear paint clothes. There are my paint clothes here. Cover tables and floors that if getting paint on them is going to be an issue, because while you're so focused on creating this beautiful artwork, sometimes you don't see that, you know, there's a drop of paint here, a drop of paint there. Okay, I am in my art studio, so I'm used to having paints here and there and everywhere. So, um, but if you're working on your kitchen table, whatever, cover your stuff. Uh, Plastic tablecloths from the dollar store, that works. Okay, old sheets. Right? If you don't want to go to the dollar store, you can use old sheets, and you can reuse old sheets certainly. So anything like that. So people come up with all kinds of good suggestions and whatnot. So absolutely give me a call and let me know what you're doing. Okay, so without further ado, grab your hot cocoa and follow me, baby. Okay, so we are, this is, you're seeing the rest of my little art room here. Let me put my cocoa here. And the other thing that you will need is I'm going to use a white pencil, but anything that will allow you to see and some guidelines on your piece will be fine. Okay, so let me see if I can get myself comfortable here. What's on here? Oh, that's my. You can't see it, but my purse is in the way, and I'm like, oh my God, what's that on my piece? Okay, so let me find a good. Uh-huh. Okay, that'll work. That'll work. All right. So again, two coats, whatever colors you're using, color scheme you're using, do two coats, kids. All right. So again, for the first, let's see if I can maybe put this over here like this. Right? So you will need brushes, obviously, to paint this. And if you don't have brushes, which I imagine everyone does at this point, um, you know, you could put it with your hands. I certainly have done that before. But you will need a brush to brush this on. So make sure it's dry. Okay. And again, it doesn't matter what size, whether you use a canvas, whether you use whatever you want to paint on, you can paint on. So I'm going to take my first, I want to make my first circle. So if you're using a rectangular canvas or canvas board, you might have a little bit more room at the sides, which will be good because this is going to be a little bit close, but I think I'm going to like it. Anyway, all right, so you could measure it to make sure that it is exactly in the middle. So I have half an inch here and a half an inch there. Again, if you're using a rectangular, just make sure you're even on both sides. Okay, I'm going to do here and look here. And God love me, I have a good eye at this point, but it took a long time to get a good eye. So I'm going to hold this down with this hand, and I am going to make a circle here, which I'm hoping that I can see. Oh yeah, good, sort of, kind of. Okay. So if I didn't tell you already, you're going to need water bowls, okay? Because while you're using your tools, as you switch from tool to tool, you're going to want to keep the tool that you're not using in the water, okay? Because you don't want the paint to dry on your tool. Let me see if this actually came out. Oh, okay, that's good, that's good. I'm gonna go a little darker here, just so, let me see if you can see that. Can you see that? Oh, yeah, you can. Okay, so I made this guideline, right? Now I'm going to take my smaller circle inside here, kind of do the same thing. I just want to make sure it's even on all four sides. So let's see what we got here. It's a half an inch. Oh, this is not going to be easy, is it? Okay, so I have 3/4 of an inch here. These guys. 3/4 here. There. God, am I good? Okay, so now I want to do this crescent moon pot here. Okay, so again, hold this down, right? Take your pencil and do the whole circle. I know we just want to do a moon pot, but do the whole circle for now. Okay, so let's see if I can. Oh, I can see it. I see it. Okay, so see my two circles in there? Depends on the way the light's hitting it, but I can see it. Okay, so now I'm going to move my circles out of my way. I'm actually going to use this, what I made my circle with, for a palette. And now I want to make this inner part here. Okay, so I'm going to take this plate. Am I? Okay, and I'm trying to decide here how much I want to kind of go in. Okay, so maybe about halfway. I'm thinking halfway. So measure your circle, and everyone probably use different size plates and whatnot. So just find your circle, and I'm gonna find the middle here. And for me, it's like 3.5. So find your middle, and then just put your plate. Let me use this one. Is that better? Maybe, maybe. Okay, so doing that, I'm going to go ahead and use this. This is going to be a guide for my moon. Okay, so this is my moon guide, and it. I'm going to take this and bring it a little bit more over this way because I want a little bit more of a circle in there. Okay, so don't be afraid to again, do what you want to do. Do what you want to do, kids. Okay, so I'm going to move this and I'm going to get a nice moon shape. I want a nice moon shape. Okay, so go ahead, embellish, fix, do whatever your heart desires. I am going to go and grab a couple of Q-tips. Okay, so another thing, maybe have some Q-tips handy, or just you could actually just have some cotton batting, or even paper towel or tissue. And the only reason I say that is because I'm actually going to take this line off. Okay, and I'll show you again what I did here. Okay, so I extended this line here a little bit, and you don't need to go through a whole bunch of stuff. You just want it to look like a crescent moon. So whatever works for you. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. Right. Right. So when you get a pleasing shape that you like, go for it. Right. So this is what I have. Right. And that's what you should have, or something real close to it, or something totally different if you want to. Okay. But in order to do this, we need something similar to this. Okay, your moon can be fatter, thinner. It can be anything your heart desires because you are the creator. And art is subjective from person to person. All right, so the other thing we want to do before we start our dotting is to actually kind of create this star effect. And once again, I'm going to find the middle of my moon. In my case, it is 2.5 inches. Yeah, okay. So there is my middle. 2.5 inches is right there. And then I'm going to actually measure this way as well. Okay, and I have 6 inches here, so I'm going to go with 3. So, so my middle is kind of right here. See where my dot is? That's my middle. Okay, so I am going to create some guidelines here. Okay, and the most important thing is probably just kind of keep them straight. Okay, so I don't want it to go all the way to the ends of the moon. I want it to go 2 inches in that direction and 2 inches in this direction. Okay, ta-da! Okay, go the other way. Go the other way. Okay, and again, I'm going to do 2 inches this way and 2 inches this way. So I have 2 inches this way and 2 inches this way. 2 inches and 2 inches. That's what I have so far. Now this wants to have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So now we're going to go the other way. We're going to go the other way. So I'm just going to go straight through the middle here. Ta-da. Straight through the middle here. And voila, I have a star pattern. Okay, this is what we're looking like. Okay, so now, if I'm going too fast for you, um, halt, stop the video or whatever it is that you're looking at and catch up. Okay, if I'm going too slow for you, do not go ahead of me. If you go ahead of me, you may miss a few steps, which we do not want you to do. Okay, so if I'm going too fast, slow me down or stop and catch up and get this part right before we go on to your next step. If I'm moving too slow, wait for me, baby. Don't go without me. Don't leave without me. So now, in order to, when you're doing your dotting, if your hand is going to be resting on your canvas, um, then you're going to, if the paint is wet, you're going to get wet paint on you. Okay, so I'm going to suggest that we start the outside here and then maybe let it dry a little bit and then work on the inside. Okay, so the outside of this is actually all white dots and then they're top dotted with blue and black dots. So we want, first of all, let's find what we want to use for these dots. Okay, maybe you want to use your eraser. If you have dotting tools, maybe you want this guy. I don't know how big we want to go here, but you should have big, small, little, all different sizes here, especially for this outside part and through here. But they're going to be mostly white. And once, actually, let's do them all white. Okay, and then afterwards, we'll top dot and we'll make some really cool things going on here. So this is going to be fun. Okay, so this is, I was doing some work earlier. So I could put my white in here certainly. Right? Take your white paint. And we're going to use quite a bit of white paint. So I'm going to put some out there. And maybe I'm not putting out as much as you think that I should. But acrylic paints dry relatively fast. And if you're working in a room that is kind of dry and whatnot, then it'll dry even faster. So I'm actually going to use just a little at the time. Okay, so let's, I'm going to say maybe water this down just slightly. But please, please, please don't put too much water in there. So I'm going to take one of my Q-tips, and you will want to have some, you'll definitely want to have some paper towels nearby. I think I'm sitting on something. All right, so I'm going to take just a little bit of water on my Q-tip, like this, and I'm going to kind of mix it in here. Just want to thin out this paint slightly, slightly, okay? So, so if the paint is too thick, then you'll have a hard time like top dotting it, all right? So if you have it a little bit looser, and I did the mix, put a little bit more on here like this. Actually, you can dot with these two if you like. Okay, so I'm just adding, okay, this is what I'm doing. Let me show you. I'm just dipping and putting some water on the top of this, and then I'm mixing, okay? And I'm hoping that that's going to be loose enough so that I get a dot that is not so thick that it leaves a bump, all right? Because the bumpy ones are hard to, definitely harder to top dot. And these definitely need to be top dotted. So I'm actually going to try my Q-tip and see what I end up with here. So remember, we're on the outside parts here. And actually, that's kind of cool. Okay, kind of a small dot, but that's all right. Right? And I have to say, it holds the paint rather well. Okay, so if you have a Q-tip, fine. Right? I'm going to go ahead and put some dots on here. And I'm going to go all the way around here like this. Now, as my Q-tip is falling apart here, it's leaving a little bit of a tail. Okay, so I actually don't want that. So I am no longer going to use my Q-tip. I'm going to place it aside. Okay, put my palette here and there. All right, and I think I'm going to try a bigger size dotting tool. Okay, so again, you're going to want to have different size dots here. Okay, see them already? This is like this. You're going to enjoy this so much. Okay, so I want to put the plate in the picture so that you can actually see what I'm doing. All right, so I want all different sizes here. Now, with the bigger sizes, you're going to have to dip into your paint more often. And I'm trying not to put too much paint on here because again, would like it to be on the flatter side so that I can top dot it. See how there's not a lot of a peak of paint up there, which sometimes happens when the paint is too thick. Okay. The other thing you can do if you are buying your own paint is you can buy cheaper paint, believe it or not. This paint came from the dollar store. It's called Crafter's Square acrylic paint, and it's only $1. It came from Dollar Tree, and it's very cheap paint, and what that means is it's very thin. Right? So if you're using it to dot with, you actually don't have to water it down. However, if you're using good paint, then you want it at the right consistency. Okay, so I'm going to use the bigger dot first, I think. So this is what's going on here. And I'm not placing them in any kind of a strategic place. I'm just kind of going along and letting them kind of happen where they want to happen. And if you want to, you can kind of keep an eye on that if you're thinking, oh, gee, okay, there's some big dots around here, and so on and so forth. You can do all of that good stuff. You are the creator, and you want a lot of big dots, put a lot of big dots. If you want just a few big dots, put just a few big dots. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can get into. I want you to see the whole canvas here, whole piece. Okay, so here we go here, there, some here, I think one here. All right, now I don't know if you can see that dot. It's kind of anemic. Okay, so I'm going to redot it. All it means is that there was not enough paint on my dotting tool. So if you get a dot like that, just carefully redot it. Okay. Okay, I'm going to flip myself around once again, and I'm going to begin to add more dots. This dotting is so therapeutic. It's so relaxing and so extremely cool. You absolutely love it. And I'll tell you that this is a relatively easy thing to do because the dots can kind of go anywhere and you can use any size dots you want. But I'll tell you, students they get really, really fancy. And I don't think Melissa will mind because she just left here. When you're not using your tools, put them in the water, please. Don't let the paint dry on the tools. Put it in the water. But I want to show you what Melissa is working on. I don't think she'll get upset. It's not quite done yet. But look how intricate that is. Okay, so this is her rendition of the piece that we're doing. Here's another piece by Capolina. Okay, this is hers. Isn't that awesome? So once you kind of get the idea of, yeah, I'm going to give myself some guidelines and, I'm going to do this, that, you can do anything you want with, with the dots. Okay, so I have some pretty big dots here. And again, most of these outside dots are mostly white, and then there are some that are kind of double or top dotted in blue. Okay, and we want to keep that color scheme because in order to see the moon, it has to be different than what's on the outside and over here. Okay, so we're going to keep these dots white for now, and I'm going to switch to a smaller dotter. Okay, which what do I want to use? Maybe these these are almost the same size, but I'm going to go with this red one here. And you can switch, you can use your pencil, you can use your dauber. Okay. So again, I'm trying really hard not to put like too much paint on on my dotting tool. Ugh, I knew I could get the word out. I tried really hard. Okay. Let's do another one right here and here. Okay, see how it's starting to really come together. And like I said, it's this this is going to be one of my favorite pieces because you don't have to kind of worry about where these are going. I mean, you can tell, what looks good with your eyes, certainly. I'm going to redot this little guy here. And I'm going to have to redot it yet again because I'm still missing that bit. Yeah, success. Okay, so let's continue to get a little bit more in the dots over here. So all different size dots. Okay, and again, if you're using a big dotting tool, you will have to dip it in the paint a little bit more often. So the only thing that I'm kind of doing is going all the way around my canvas and making sure that I have all the different size dots kind of everywhere. And again, that could just be a Virgo thing. Okay, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. You can do as your heart desires. Okay. So this is what I have so far. Right? I am going to wipe off excess paint and I'm going to put my dotting tool in the water and I'm going to switch to a smaller dotting tool yet. Okay, so switch to a small dotting tool. You can use your daubers, your bottles with the stoppers on them. Okay, you can use those. Use your pencil tips, whatever your heart desires. But we're going smaller, smaller, smaller. Okay, and like I said, that could just be a Virgo thing. That's what makes sense to my little head. You can do it in any order that you want. Okay. So I am going to go the next size down here. And this size dot is very similar to the one that I just used. So I'm probably not going to do whole bunches of them. I'm going to dot here and maybe here. Okay, like I say, it's very similar in size to the previous dot-er. I'm going to do this, going round and round. Yeah. If you have a lazy Susan, this would be perfect, a perfect place to use it, certainly. Okay, I'm going to put one here, and I think, and I'm just using my eye, I'm just kind of saying, all right, this looks good. And I actually going to put, I think, a side one here. Okay, because on that handout, I actually see some cut off dots. Right, so we can put some of those on. That makes our picture look even cooler. And as you can see my half dot there, a half dot there, and a half dot there. Two half dots. Okay, so maybe if you want half dots here, here. Okay, or 3/4 dots, whatever your heart desires. But I do want to make sure I get them kind of neat. Good. Try one here. And maybe another one here. Okay. Don't have any half dots on this side. So let's do a half dot there and an almost whole dot there. So this is what it's looking like. I'm so happy. Okay, so I'm going to clean off my some hot cocoa and decide to go to a smaller tool yet. Okay, this one is pretty small. Okay, go ahead and use this little guy. Okay, so here's my smallest one. my area is filling up quite nicely. Right? And I'm definitely going to go even smaller. Okay, don't be afraid to put in half dots. I'm looking for my guidelines here because this one looks like I went a little bit over. Okay, and if you did go a little bit over, don't panic because you can always use black paint to go over and correct, if you will, any mistakes you may have made. Okay, so really starting to fill up a little bit here. So I'm going to move around to this side now. Okay, let's see. I'm going to put one here, here, and here, here. Okay, can you see what's happening here? This is very exciting. Here, can do a half dot right there. Right there. And that's so cute. Okay, now as I'm looking at this perimeter of the black line that's going around here, they have to kind of come right up against that edge to maintain the edge so that we actually see the edge. I'm going to continue with my little dots. And we're really starting to fill up a little bit in here. Okay, and again, this dot didn't come out round. I'm going to just re-dot it. Okay, see what's going on here? Sweet dot there. Try a dot right there. I want to try to not touch any of the other dots. We're getting them as close as we can without actually dotting over or touching the other dots. At this point, I'm really looking to fill in. Okay, so see these dots are really starting to fill this area. So we're just kind of randomly placing them. And you know how big your tool is. You know if it'll fit somewhere. Okay, and on the edges, do half dots. If your heart so desires. Okay, I'm going to go a dot here, a dot there, another one there. Cool. So I don't know when you're watching this, but I'm recording it right before Easter weekend. So I want to say happy Easter to those viewers and friends who celebrate Easter. Happy Passover to those who celebrate Passover, and any other celebrations that I'm missing. I hope everyone is having a really good celebration. In this time of the pandemic, family becomes, I think, I always like to think about with anything that comes our way, um, you know, certainly there is a lot of people are getting sick and so on and so forth, and that's never a good thing. Um, but I always feel that there's a flip side to absolutely everything. And I think this period of time has really made us realize just how social we are and how much we need each other. And also, I know I've said this a number of times, but I've also seen a lot of heroism, people coming forth and helping people that need it. And, frontline workers have, been right there for us. And, um, and they have families of their own, certainly, that, they want to protect and they want to be careful. Okay, so it's really made me realize. I watched an old movie one time, and in the movie, it was I think it was called Starman, and it was about this alien who comes to visit Earth, but his his spaceship crashes on Earth, and now he's trying to get back to his friends because he can't survive in the Earth atmosphere. So he meets a number of people, and to make a long story short, they end up trying to help him get back to where he needs to go. And one of the comments that the alien makes, which I thought was kind of cool, is he says, Do you want to know what I find most intriguing or beautiful about people?" I'm probably paraphrasing incorrectly. And so, the guy he's talking to says, "Yeah." And so the alien says, "When things are at their worst, that's when people are at their best." Brings forth, people at their best. And I thought that is so true. It's absolutely true that when things are at their worst, we come forth and we realize what's important and we help each other. And I just found it a very true statement. So in this time of this pandemic, that's exactly what I was thinking. That, even though it was a really tough time and there were a lot of really scared people out there, and unfortunately there's still a lot of really scared people out there, um, we come together and try to help each other. So it says a lot about who we are as a people, as a race. Okay, and there's definitely, a lot of talk out there that, some people, some refer to it as, parts of the government that, maybe don't have our best interests at heart or in mind. And there's always been folks like that in our history, and and there probably always will be. But as I say, when it brings out the best in people as well. Okay, so as I'm talking to you, I'm continuing to dock, and I am totally enjoying this. And because the dots are just being randomly placed, and I'm not having to really think about where I'm putting them, other than making sure they're within the boundary lines here. This is extremely, extremely comforting and happy. Okay, so I'm going to put another one there, another one here. All right, now, um, if you are going to frame this artwork, you don't have to even think about doing the sides or the edges here, right? If you are not going to frame it, you're going to kind of hang it the way that it is, then you might want to go ahead and do the edges as well, okay? And I have a feeling this baby, I'm liking it so much. I have a feeling I'm going to want to frame it. Maybe. Okay, so I have this one edge over here that really looks like it could use more dots. Okay, so what you don't want to do is run out of paint on your tool, because then you end up with a unfinished dot, which looks really ugly. Okay, so I'm looking here, just kind of before I switch to my smallest tool now, just kind of looking around and seeing if in fact there was a place that I could fit another one this size, and it is right here, here, here. Okay, so just kind of look around, give a look-see, okay? And like I said, there's a lot of half dots here on the edges, so don't be afraid to do half dots, because it looks pretty good over there. So let's put some over here. There we go. Okay. So this is looking pretty exciting to me. So looking at my dots here. Let's do this one. And this is actually one I did with the Q-tip that I'm not totally loving anymore. I just redotted it. But this is what I have here. Now this looks actually pretty good all by itself, but I do think that I want to go ahead and put some smaller dots in. So I clean the excess paint off of my tool and put the tools in the water. Okay, so now I want to use an even smaller tool. Okay, so I have this, right? And this has two sides to it, a bigger side, I don't know if you can see, and that side. So I'm thinking pencil and pencil tip, for those of you who do not have dotting tools. Okay, so I'm going to take the big side of the dotting tool. If you're using a pencil, use the eraser side, okay, for now. And we're going to start putting in some of the smaller dots. And some of these really small dots, like I said, around here. Like, see how this edge is really maintained, this nice crisp edge? All right, so I think it looks like smaller dots there to me. So I'm actually going to make some smaller dots a little bit closer to the line. Okay, and I'm going to put some in between my bigger dots. And this, let me put them in, and then I want to show you, I'll show you up close, give you a better idea of what this is going to look like. Okay, so here, see these small dots in here? Okay, so I'm kind of filling up any spaces, if you will, and actually, I wonder if I could use, like these are really small dots. I think I'm going to use my skewer here, okay? And that might be a little bit bigger than this. So here's switch. I'm going to switch to this guy and see what kind of size dots I get. Oh, okay. I'm liking those. So see these dots in here? These three dots right here, all right, were made with this skewer, the flat side of the skewer. Okay. So before I go to the tinier dots, I am going to go ahead and put some of these babies in. Okay. And again, you know, we kind of want to maintain that inner circle. So wherever I can fit them, I'm going to put them in over here. Okay. See what's going on here, and putting in the smaller dots. And then I can get even smaller ones in here with the smaller dotting tool, or point with a pencil if that's what you're using. Okay, so see these smaller dots? Extremely cool. So again, I'm going to go around. I'm going to circle here. I'm going to turn my canvas around, and any place these this little guy will fit, I'm putting them in there. Okay, so I'm kind of working in an area here. Okay, so can you see that? See that whole area? Okay, versus the area beside it. See how there's very little spaces left now? And in those little tiny spaces, I can use my very small dotting tool or the point of the pencil. Okay, so let's make sure we have a whole canvas in screen here. Okay, and don't be afraid to do half dots. Half dots are good. We like them. So any place they'll fit here. There we go. They have quite a few little dots here. I'm going to cover some of those. Okay, and this tool, you still have to kind of dip it like every 2 or 3. So we want some good dots. Sometimes I can get away with 4, but again, you know, some of what's my circle? Okay, some of my dots, we want them nice and close. Look at that. How cool is that? Okay, so let me see. I can fit one in here. Fit 2 in there. Half dots are fine. Don't forget your half dots. Half dots are going to add interest to our picture. Ta-da. More half dots. So at this point, I've already put in the bigger dots. So at this point, I'm just looking for wherever they'll fit. Okay. So, and if I'm not sure it'll fit, I'm not taking the chance and putting it in because I can always go ahead with the smaller tool and put in the small dots. Okay. So if you're not sure your dot will fit in the space allotted, don't try to force it in there. We'll use the smaller tool to get it in there. Okay. And lines. Another one here. A little dive in. Okay. And the more this fills up, kind of the better I'm liking it. Half dots on my wall, the edge. Okay, I can fit one in there. And starting to run out of room here. This dot didn't come out completely round, so I'm going to redo it. Okay, and when you redo your dots, make sure that you don't go into another dot. If you do, use your Q-tip to kind of take it off of there as much as you can. And then, as I say, at the end, you know, you can always take some black paint and go over it and kind of fix, you know, little small errors. Of course, it's better if we don't make them in the first place. But I have to tell you, I've been painting for many years, and I've never not made an error or something that I'd like to redo or fix. So, so you find a way to kind of do that. Okay, let's see. One here. Okay, definitely running out of room now, which is a good thing. Okay, because it means we're getting these dots in. little space here. I'm going to do one right on this corner, right here. That looks awesome. Okay, let me see. I think I can fit one there and there and there. I definitely can fit one here, here, here. A half dot there. There, I can fit one in there. Half dot over here. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of a look around and see if there are places that I could fit in a little bit more dots. And I think I am going to just do one right there. But other than that, I'm actually looking for places where I might fit in another dot and really not seeing one at this point. So now, again, clean the excess off your tool, put it in the water. If you're using wood or a pencil, I'm going to say don't let it sit in the water, clean it off all the way. All right, and then use the other side of your pencil or tool, okay, and we're going to start doing little dots. And again, I'm just looking for places where they will fit. Now, the point of the pencil, absolutely, you're going to find many places where that will fit. Okay, so again, see how many times you can kind of dot before you need more paint on the tool. Right, and you're gonna and don't try. Like sometimes I say, oh, I can get one more out of it, and then I can't, and I end up with a dot that I have to actually fix. Okay, so see here, see all the little dots in there, in between there. That's what we're doing right now. So let's continue to do that. So while this is a really, really easy piece, it can be a little time consuming. So like I said, if in fact I'm going too fast for you, stop or slow down the recording. If I'm going too slow for you, wait for me to catch up, okay? Don't go ahead of me. Okay? If you go ahead, then you might miss an important step, and I don't want you to do that. I want you to be happy, happy. And even though I want you absolutely to use your own imagination and do what you want to do, you still want to kind of do it in the right steps. Okay, so I'm doing exactly the same thing I was doing before. I'm looking for spots that will allow me to dot in them without actually touching the other dots. Okay. And like I said, you will kind of, a lot of people find dotted mandalas very therapeutic. So let me put some in over here. I think I could get a few more in here. Up is a little spot right here. I could get some in there. So see what's happening here? We're really getting nice and full. So see this area versus this area. This has all the little dots in it. Okay. So I'm going to keep going round and round here, looking for more places to fit my dots. Okay, and you're going to find if you continue to dot with, like you put your daughter in the paint and then continue to dot, the dots actually get smaller as the tool runs out of paint, which can be a help. So, so a good idea, of course, to go with the bigger doctors, to really pronounce my words well so that you understand, so that the bigger dots are actually filling up more of the space. Plus, I really, really like the versatility and the variation of the different size dots. Okay, so keep going, keep it going. If in fact you need to take a break, same thing. Stop the recording, take a break, make yourself some tea, pour yourself a glass of wine if it's okay to do so. Have some hot cocoa, always have hot cocoa. Definitely need chocolate. Okay, so I'm just dotting along, and the only thing I'll say is be mindful of your edge here, your circle edge, and you definitely want to maintain the edge. You want it to look like a circle. Now, the other thing I want to say is, because I'm using this tool a lot, the paint is starting to dry on the edge of the tool. Don't let the tool build up. I don't let the paint build up on the tool. Okay, make sure it's clean, stays relatively clean, so that you can get nice clean dots. This, when I do most of my artwork, I usually have some music in the background. Okay, now music doesn't necessarily translate well in the tutorials, so we do not have music going at this point, but feel free, obviously, to have some music going in the background as you're painting, as you're dotting. Okay, and what I find is that when I listen to music as I'm dotting along, if the music is kind of fast and moving, then my dots are kind of like fast and moving as well. And if the music is kind of slow and relaxed and so on and so forth, then my dotting kind of comes out that way too, or at least the speed at which I'm dotting comes out that way. Okay, so as I'm sitting here without any music, I'm actually thinking in my head. I have a little tune going on. For those of you who know me, and that would be an awful lot of you, I play the ukulele, or at least I try to. Um, and so typically there's music going on in my head all the time. And I have a brand new grandniece, and I play my ukulele for her when I go to visit her because she lives out of state. And we sing all kinds of great songs. And at one of the last ukulele gigs that my group played at, one of the songs we played is "In Heaven There Ain't No Beer." So I'm with the baby, who is not, she's 8 months old now, closing in on 9 months. So I'm playing my ukulele and I'm singing, "In heaven there ain't no beer, that's why we drink it here." So I have the baby, and we're singing, and kind of I'm bouncing her along and singing, and her mother looks mother looks at me and she goes, "Oh my God," she said, and I was worried about her father teaching her, not the necessarily finer things in life when it comes to speech. And so now I have to worry about her auntie too. So I'm like, well, maybe just a little. I said, but I said, she needs to know these things. I said, when she gets old enough to hold a note, I said, we're going to have to do a duet. We have to sing together. Duet, sing, play. So I think we got mom a little bit nervous, but she'll get used to it. She'll get used to us. So my grandniece's name is Willow, and she is the apple of my eye, and she's my first grandniece. We waited a long, long time for her, and just totally, totally loving her. And so of course, I mean, even at 8 months, I took out the crayons and we were playing with the crayons and trying to get her to make a mark on the paper. And of course, she's the smartest young lady in the world, um, as any auntie will attest. Right? Our babies are definitely the smartest in the entire universe. So I took a sketchbook and crayons, and I'm holding her hand, and we're making some marks on the sketch pad. And so, in between trying to not eat the crayons, because of course everything wants to go in the mouth. Let me taste this, Auntie. And I'm like, no, no, don't put it in your mouth, baby. Let's put it on the paper here. And she's definitely my girl, my baby girl. And so we did. We made a few marks on the paper at 8 months old, that little girl, and she's going to be a natural, I'm sure. So we will, at some point, as Willow progresses in her music and her art, we'll give you some progress reports. Okay, so I'm actually closing in on the finish line here. All right, so this is what it looks like. And some of the dots are extremely big, some are extremely small. And I'm going to take the very small side, or you might use the point of the pencil to do this. And I'm actually going to just put in a few more dots, especially along the edge line here. Okay, so again, my goal is to really define that edge and maybe get in a few dots. And I have to say, the point of the pencil or the very small tool here is so small that you will definitely, you could do this all day long. But we won't. We're just going to kind of work around that edge a little bit. Okay. So this, there are the tiny little dots right here. Okay. So again, point of the pencil. All right, and work the edge in particular. And I mean, you can put them any way you want. I'm going to say be mindful of our edging at this point. I'm going to give it a priority. So even though I might be hitting a few elsewhere, I'm really dedicating my efforts to that edge. And if there are any big spots here, we can fill those in too. Okay, but again, dedicating the effort to the edge work here. And then there's okay, good, good, good. Okay, and again, you don't want dots to be touching. Look at that edge right there, as opposed to some of this edging here. Okay, so we want to definitely work on that. There we go. That looks better. And I have to say, there's not whole bunches of spaces in between here. I tell you, I did a marvelous job getting all those little dots in there. Okay, so again, going around and dedicating my efforts to this edging. Don't be afraid to look back. Make sure. And if you see any spots that look like they need these little dots in them, go right ahead. Go right ahead and dot them. This is your masterpiece. And you wanna have a piece that you're very proud of, certainly. You should be proud because this takes a great deal of patience, and I find it very relaxing and fun. And I have to say, when I first started teaching folks how to do dotted mandalas, I had a student who found it absolutely frustrating. She's like, oh my God, all these little dots. How do you sit there and do all those little dots? And she kind of rushed through a little bit. And even though her piece absolutely looks wonderful, came out nice, she stayed away from it. She didn't try it again for a very long time. But then, as she was watching other people's works of art, she decided she would try it again, and she definitely had a change of heart or a difference, certainly, in the way that she felt, and she was really able to take her time and so on and so forth. And I have to say, some of her mandalas are one of the most beautiful, or some of the most beautiful in the class. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I have this very small point, and so I'm just kind of looking around and seeing if there's anywhere that looks like it needs a little dot. Okay, and I have to say, there's a lot of little dots here. Okay, so it's probably okay. See, one there could happen there, one could happen there. Okay, so taking a final look around, looking. Aha, spot right there and there. Oh, wait a minute. I see where I could fix some spots. Okay, so this little guy could go right here, go right there, go here and here. Okay, let's see. Up here, we could get one in here and here. All right, I'm thinking good. It looks awesome, right? So I'm going to clear the excess off of my tool. And again, if you are using a pencil, don't let your pencil sit in the water, it'll melt away. Okay? So so you could use even small, some people use toothpicks and go even smaller in here. Okay, and there certainly is room to go smaller. But I have to say, I'm kind of liking just the way that it is. So I don't think I'm going to go small. I'm thinking it looks good. So I'm going to clean this off and put it right back over there. So this is what I look like thus far. Okay, this is what it looks like. Okay, here's my star. So before we put any top dots in here, we're going to let this pot dry a little bit. Right? So let's go ahead and do the moon. Right? So with the moon, I'm going to do, we can do some white, But what I see here is mostly like light blue, like very light blue. So let's do very light blue first. Okay. So I am going to take a brush so that I can mix some paint. Let's see what brush I would like. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take one of my palettes here, and I am going to let's move this so that you can see what I'm doing. Let's put this here. All right. So I'm taking some of my white paint here. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll take it all. Take it all. Okay. So I'm thinking some very, I'm putting some back in. All right. So I'm thinking some light, like the lightest blue dots are what I'm going to make now. See that blue dot there and that blue dot there. Okay. So I'm going to take my blue, and this I'm using primary blue. That's the name of it, primary blue. And I'm going to put just the tiniest bit on my plate, like just the tiniest bit, because blue is a stronger, much stronger color than the white is. Okay, so when we're mixing paint, we always take the lighter color first, and then very small amounts of the darker color. Okay, so I'm ending up with a very light blue here. Okay, and a little bit more of the white to it, because I'm looking for a very faint blue, almost a white, to just put in some of the dots, maybe not whole bunches of them. Okay, and when you're mixing, kind of mix towards the middle here, okay, so that you don't run out of paint. So here's my light blue. Okay, so let's move this out of the way. And now, okay, see all these light blues in here? Now again, it doesn't have to look exactly like this. But let's take, and I'm gonna kind of do like the same order again. So I'm gonna use my biggest tool first. Make sure all of the water is out. Okay? And I'm going to take this light blue here, and I'm going to put some of the light blue dots. I'm trying not to lean on my white dots here. Okay, and as you can see, that second dot came out a little ill. I'm going to re-dot it. All right, so I'm going to put in some. Now, remember to keep the shape of your crescent moon here. Keep it honest here. So I'm staying definitely in that, and I actually want to do this in different sizes as well. So we're going to use different sizes. There you go. I'm just kind of getting my light blues and coming down my moon. And again, the acrylic paint kind of dries kind of quickly. Even in your plate or palette. Okay, so if it's coming out too thick, I have a sparkle on there. If it's coming out too thick, then you can feel free to water it down a little bit again. This is coming out okay. Okay. So I have a lot of excess on my brush, so I'm kind of using my brush here. Okay, so that's all the big ones I'm going to put on there, and I'm going to clean the excess off my tool, And I'm going to go to the next size down. Okay, so go to the next smallest size that you have, and let's put in some more. Okay, so again, doing light blue, and I'm just kind of doing what we did on the outside, doing on the inside. So I'm just taking some light blue and placing them in our crescent moon. Okay, good. Get them nice. Thank you. Okay, so we want to do a good job here because this is coming out so beauteous. And I'm thinking it's going to be one of my favorite pieces. Okay, let's do this. So again, being cognizant here of my crescent moon. And they're pretty spaced out here. Okay, I think I can fit one right here. Yay. Okay, so now maybe always clean off the excess. All right, and I'm gonna go to a even smaller, which is actually red one here. Right, but before I start um, to put more dots in, I want to change the value or the hue or the, oh, look at this one. That can't be good. Let's fix that little baby. Ta-da! All right, so I have light blue and on here. So I want to continue on, but I want to, let's see, where's my white? I'm going to take some more of this white and add it to what I have here. Okay, so again, that's a light blue. So now I'm going to add more blue, okay, because I'm looking for a darker shade of blue now than what's on there, okay, because I want varied amounts of different values of blues. Okay, and you see here, I think I'm going to go a little bit darker, okay, a little bit darker here. Okay, so I'm going to go like really dark over here. And now I have a bunch of kind of different blues going on. I have one that's kind of really dark going on over here. And I'm going to take some of this blue off. And I'm going to stay with my really light blue over here. Okay, so now I actually do have a bunch of different color blues. Okay, so I'm going to go with the next smallest, which I thought was my red. Here we go. And with my lighter colors, this one's a little bit more blue-ish, but I want some these light colors. I would like some of the lighter blue in the smaller colors. So I'm going to go back to my light blue. Put that in there and go smaller here. So go down to a smaller so we can get some small light ones in here. So we have a few different sizes of lights and dots. And the smaller ones can go closer to the point. Good, good, good. Okay, so we have some light, smaller ones. Okay, now with the same small tool that I have out, I'm going to go into the darker blue and put some small guys in. Okay, and even darker still. Okay, so because this is a smaller area, I'm going to work all three values in and maybe even get some of my bigger. So I'm actually taking my, not my biggest, but my next size down. And I want to put some darker ones in here. You don't have to worry about, do you have too many of this or not enough of that? Because as I say, we're going to do quite a bit of top dotting here. Okay, so as I'm looking, I'm not sure I can see another one of this size in here. Maybe right here. Okay, I'm going to put that in the water. I'm going back to my smaller, and I'm going to start putting in some of these smaller, and I'm going back and forth between the medium, okay, because I think I have enough light, like really light ones in here. So I'm going to go back and forth between the medium and the dark and put these in. Okay. And once again, you're going to find that these bigger dots take up so much room that this will actually cover most of this relatively fast on the outside of the outside perimeter here. Took a little longer because there's a lot of space out there. So my crescent moon is starting to take shape. And again, go back and forth between lights and darks. Okay, I think I can fit one in right there. Yay. Okay, anywhere else? Maybe right here. Okay. So I am going to, again, switch to a smaller tool. Okay, and this is a pretty small tool already. So let's go. And I'm going to put my brush in the water as well. And actually, I have another water bowl out here that I think I'll put it into, so I don't mess up my tools too much. Okay, so now let me see what do I have for a small tool. Okay, I have the second to smallest tool. This is my smallest tool. This is the second smallest tool. So I'm going to clean off the excess water from this smallest tool. And I'm going to actually do the same thing. I'm going to go, now I have enough light on here. So I'm going to go between the medium and the dark. Okay, and I have to say, this area is filling up quite fast. Okay, and go back to the dark over here. Okay, anywhere else so we can fit in some dark. All right, so I'm thinking that could be it for that. Okay, I'm going to switch to my smallest tool. And again, we're going to go light and medium. Not necessarily light. I take that back. We're going to go medium and then dark blue. Medium and dark blue. Okay, and I'm really along these boundary lines, I'm really trying to maintain the shape of this quarter moon. going back and forth, dark to light or medium, okay, because we have three different values here. We have a really light to light blue, right? Then we have a medium blue, and we have a dark blue. So we're using them all. Okay, and I'm using these small dots to really define the edge of my crescent moon. And that's to say that I'm really working these dots right around the edge. Okay, and let me show you maybe close up. All right, see those little tiny dots there? So I'm running them right along these edges as I try to define that moon shape. Okay, so be careful not to touch the white because I'm going to draw it a little bit. I am taking my plate and moving this one out of the way because it has the very, very light in there, and we actually have enough very, very light. So I'm going with between the medium blue and the dark blue. And once again, focusing my efforts on those on that line, that outer edge. And some of my dots are not coming out round, and what I noticed is because I'm not holding the tool quite right. Okay, so I'm going to hold it upright like this so I get a better dot. Okay, better dots are good. Again, focusing my efforts, outer edge. So even though you're kind of buzzing along a little bit here, don't lose your focus. Focus is good. You like it. Round it. Okay. So any place you can kind of fit those dots in is a good place to put them. Okay. So we're getting there. See where there are all the spaces in between here? That's where I want to go. And again, going back and forth between the white and the dark. And this, I actually kind of feel like you cannot have too many dots here. Okay, so the only thing that you kind of want to preserve is, you don't want them to touch each other. So I'm kind of, my eye is kind of traveling down this way. Okay, move your canvas around. Okay, going from light to dark and dark to light. Maintaining and focusing effort on the edge work here. Okay, and we want to, again, keep our dots round. Okay, so if you find that your dots are out of round a little bit, check check the position of your tool, the way that you're holding it. You want to hold it upright, okay? Especially if your dots are not coming out round. Okay, see here. Okay, so I'm really looking towards this edge again. Okay, I have little spots in here. So I'm looking for all these little places that I could put those dots. And I think that it looks really good in through here, up through here. I didn't get to. So I'm going to turn this baby around and do this side. Okay, and again, I'm going to go dark, light, dark, light. And again, focusing my efforts on that edging and that work here. We want the dots close together certainly. And again, the goal here is to not let them touch. Okay, so it's starting to fill in on this side a little bit more, and you probably have noticed a long time ago that I'm really moving this drawing surface around quite a bit. Right? The reason being is that your hand must stay in its comfort zone in order for you to do a good job. And you'd be surprised what a small comfort zone it is. Like your hand is. I started out teaching drawing at Chelmsford High School many moons ago. And one of the things that I noticed was that the students would be stretching their arm across their sketch pads and trying to do this part and that part, and they'd say to them, move your sketchbook, turn it around, turn it upside down if you need to. Okay, but keep your hand in its comfort zone. And once you kind of get used to the fact that you're going to have to move your paper around or your drawing surface or your paint surface, no matter what it might be, you want to stay in your comfort zone. That's what we're looking to do here. Okay, so this is a pretty good rendition of the moon. I'm going to take and clean the excess off of here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this around now to the very smallest point, right? And for those of you who are using a pencil for this part would be the point of the pencil. So we're going to do the exact same thing. Because as I'm looking at this, I could see little tiny spots that would not accommodate a bigger dot, but certainly accommodate a smaller dot. So absolutely, let us do it. And we have put so much effort into this piece that we're not going to slough off when it comes to these little guys. We're going to get them in there. Okay, and again, we're going to go back and forth, light, dark, light, dark. Okay, and these in here. Focus your efforts on the edge work here. Okay. All right, I see some spacing in through here that I can work on. Some here. All right, so take your time. And, you know, I have a 7-year-old student who loves doing dotted mandalas. As a matter of fact, she thinks that all mandalas are dotted, which is not necessarily the case, but everyone that she's done, she dots because to her, mandalas should be dotted. So she might get partway through it, and she's my cousin, we're related, so she'll say, Auntie Joni, can we do something different? I'm really tired of doing all of these dots. So I'll say to her, Gianna, because that's her name, the beautiful Gianna. I'll say to her, yes, we can do something else. I said, but I said, with the idea that with your next class, we're going to come back to this and work some more on it. And if we get tired of doing that, we'll stop again and then we'll come back to it the following week. I said, so we don't have to work on it anytime you don't want to, but I would like us to at some point finish it. Okay, okay, she says. So this young lady has in fact done like a total of 5 mandalas, dotted mandalas, and not wimpy ones either. 16 by 20. She's done three 16 by 20s. We did a small 3 by 4. We did a very tiny one. She made one for her teacher at school. Needless to say, the teacher was totally, totally impressed, and she should be because mandalas are quite beautiful. And so, I mean, we're doing this all at once because it's a tutorial, but you don't have to finish it all at once. If you're tired and you say, oh my God, this tutorial is going on and on and on. Well, it is going on and on because I'm gonna finish this. But you don't have to. You can finish it tomorrow. You can take a break. You can finish it in an hour. Okay, you are in control here, right? You're the one who has the buttons. You're the one who has the controller. All right, so if this is too long for you, absolutely come back to it. Come back to it another day, another hour, whatever your heart desires. There's no reason to rush anything at all. All right, so I'm looking at this. I am totally loving it. I am going to clean off my excess and put this in the water. Again, if you're using a pencil, do not soak your pencil in the water. You will not be a happy camper. Okay, so now I have this kind of bluish, right? So as I'm looking at this, right, some of my whites probably are dry enough to top dot, but let's go ahead and work on the star because that way we'll give all of our dots time to dry. So I'm going to face this towards myself and I'm going to take my biggest tool. So whatever your largest size tool is, go ahead and grab that. And we have some this pure white out here. So I'm going to grab a little bit of pure white here, put it out on my palette, and okay. So here's some pure white. Right? I'm going to take my largest tool with it in my pure white, and then right in the middle of my star, I'm putting that right there. Okay, right in the middle of that star. Okay, now you need to clean off this tool, put it in the water, right? And okay, we're gonna do some smaller dots around it. How big do we want them? Let's have some purple and make a decision. Okay, so these bluer dots are quite big here. These are quite small. The white dots are even smaller. So I'm going to say take the second to last smallest tool you have. So this is the smallest tool. This would be the pencil tool. So the one before that, the second smallest. Let's try that and see what happens. Okay, so we have our guidelines here. I'm going to dip in my white and I'm going to put one here and one here. That's what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to put one here and one here. That's what that looks like. Now I'm going to go here and here. That's what that looks like. And then we're going to do one here and another one here. Beauty. It's a beauty. Okay, so now that goes there, let's go with the next size up. Okay, next size up that you have. And let's use a light blue. Okay, light blue. And the light blue is going to go in between these white dots. Okay, in between the white dots. Okay, see them? In between the white dots, right there. And I'm getting as close as I can to them without actually touching them. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Okay, and then our bluest dots are going to be the next size up from that. So my next size up is this one. Okay, and I'm going to use the bluest blue that I have. And the bluest blue that I have is going to go in between the light blue dots. Okay, and this bluest blue could be a little bit bluer. So, that being the case, add some blue to my bluest blue. I'm going to grab my brush or whatever it is that you're using to mix with. Okay, and I'm going to mix it into my bluest blue. Okay, which may be a little too blue. Okay, so let's mix some of this over here. Okay, so get a blue that you like. How's that? All right, that's a blue that I like. All righty. Okay, so I'm going to clean the excess off of here. Then I'm going to go with the blue that I like here. Okay, dip it in here. And again, in between the light blue dots, I am going to put my darkest blue dots. And so that's what it looks like. All right, so as I'm going around, the first blue dots that I put on didn't seem quite dark enough. So as I'm going around here and doing these darker blue dots, the first two that I put on dry out a little bit. Okay, so remember, these really blue dots are going in between the light blue dots. I have to say, they're looking quite good. All right, so the first dots that I put on here, I'm going over them with the darker blue paint. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to take this off of my brush, put it right there. And now, I'm going to put my brush back in that water and get some more paper towel and clean off excess here, like so. Put this in the water. And now I'm going to take, I'm going to take, I want those over there. I think I do. Okay, so I'm going to take this next to the smallest tool. And at this point, I'm just really kind of seeing what I like here. Okay. And in between my dark blue and over my light blue, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! Okay, I'm going to not spill my hot cocoa, which is not hot anymore. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So the only caveat here is to kind of line them up as closely as you can. And if you wanted to, you could create more guidelines, certainly. But 3 dots, probably you don't need them. If you find that you're having a hard time and you want to put a guideline there, by all means, do that. Okay, so here's my 3 dots for my star. Beauteous. Okay, line those babies up. See? All right, so I have 2 more to go here. Okay, now that last dot came out a little wimpy. I'm going to redot it like that. All right, so I have 1 more line to go here. Take your time, okay? Don't rush these. Make them nice. Okay, I'm going to re-dip here. All right, what do you think? It's a voila. It's a voila. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off of here now. And I'm actually going to use the smallest tool that I have. I am going to dip in my white and add a little dot right at the end. Okay, and again, we're kind of getting as close as we can without actually touching. So see, it kind of gives it a little bit of a point there. Okay, let's go a little bit more here. There we go. This, nice. And 1 more right here. Okay, so look what we have here. This is so cool. This is one of the most funnest pieces ever. So this particular piece, I'm going to clean off the excess, put this in the water. So I'm looking at where I was handling this, and I did get white paint on it. So, but before I go ahead and do any fix up, I'm going to once again look at the outer edges here, like right here, right? And some of the blues in here are top dotted, right? But I'm going to top dot the outside ones first. So that gives these guys in my crescent moon some time to just dry a little bit. So the ones that I'm going to target are kind of some of the big light ones because I want to put some dark in there. So I don't want to use the same size tool that I use for that. So I'm going to actually use the next, not next size down, but the next 2 sizes down. Because what happens when we press on these is that they actually spread out a little bit more. So as I was showing you over here, I actually meant here, okay? So let me just make sure. Okay, so I'm going to take right? So we have our white over here. Well, only white. So some of these have light blue top dots and some have dark blue top dots. So I am going to take my light blue, okay, and I am just going to top dot some here and there. Okay, can you see where I top dotted here and here? Okay, so I'm going to go through, and I'm not going to top dot each and every one, but I am going to top dot quite a few all the way around, and then I'm going to come back with my dark blue and top dot some more. Okay, so top dots are just what you think they are. They're dots on top of dots. So see these nice light blue dots in here? See them? Those top dots. Okay. And I actually kind of like them mostly white. So I'm not going to do many here. Um, totally up to the artiste, which is you. So if you want more top dots, you do more top dots. If you want less, you do less. If you want no top dots, don't do any. Okay? That's kind of cool, just as it is. Now I'm going to clean off the excess, and with the same tool, I'm going to go into my darker blue and just do a few darker blue top dots. I'm going to re-top dot these because it didn't come out quite right. So, see the dark blue top dots here and here? Let's not do these. So again, you as the creator get to decide, yes, I want a lot. Okay. And when you're top dotting, try to go slow with the top dotting because the dots have a tendency to take a little bit more effort to get them nice and round. Okay. And then add top dot here, another one here. And I'm going to put a top dot where? Right here. Okay. And another one here. I don't have any in this corner. And that one didn't come out round. Let's round it out a little bit. Actually could use one maybe here on this corner somewhere. So I'm going to go here, I think. And that top dot came out. All right, that's better. Okay, so I kind of spread them out a little bit. So I could have here. Take a look and see. Take a look and see what here. Okay, and see if you like what you have done. All right, clean off, clean off the excess. And I have to say, there's probably a few more in here, but I'm actually liking it just as it is. So I am going to leave this background as is, and I'm going to take this tool and with a little bit darker, the darkest blue that I have, I'm going to top dot some of these in here. And this might not all quite the way dry yet, but I'm liking this a lot better. I think I like the idea of top dotting inside the moon, okay, because it helps kind of define it a little bit more. So I'm gonna add more here. Let's top dot these babies. All right, see how cool that looks? So we're kind of top dotting here. Again, I'm using the darkest blue mixture that I have. Okay, let's do this. and this. And you can see the light blue underneath the top dots, which is very cool and a reason to use the smaller tool than the size of the top dotted tool, so that we do get some different, you want to be able to see the dots underneath. Okay, good, good, good. Put one here, another one here, go here, and yet again here. Okay, so I'm looking at this, really, really liking it. All right, and let me see, maybe another top dot here, maybe another one here and here, maybe one here. So these top dots inside the moon, I really am adding more of these than I did to the outside, because I again think it lends itself to the shape of the moon better. Okay, so I want to do just a couple more in here. So here like this and this and I really looked at what I did, probably most of them. Okay, here. So I'm looking at some of these that, because the paint was a little bit wet, it didn't get top dotted really well, like this one. So I'm actually going to just re-top dot it, just like that. And that looks better. See another one here. Okay, so I'm looking at my top dots here, here. I especially, again, want to focus some of my efforts around the edges here. Okay, so that looks extremely cool. I absolutely love it. All right, I'm going to clean this off, I think. Put that in the water. I am going to take a look, see? Yeah, like this. What do you think? What do you think? I want to say absolutely marvelous. It's beauteous. So now would be a good time to fix any boo-boos that we have going on here. I'm just going to take a little bit of black paint and go right over that, okay? And I'm going to look and see, have I had any others? And, and I absolutely can use a brush. You don't need to use your fingers. I am using my fingers. Okay, I really like to get the feel of my work and stuff. So I absolutely do use my fingers. Okay. All right. We are so going to call this piece done. And I have to say, it was a blast. It was a blast to do. Let's turn it around this way. Okay. So this piece is done. I absolutely love it. If in fact you let it dry and you want to put some Mod Podge over it, sometimes I spray with hairspray just to give it a little bit of a sheen. Okay, but it's actually perfect just the way it is. If you have any guidelines, you can cover them with, if there's a guideline right here, you could cover it with black paint if you wanted to. Okay, or if you use the pencil, you can actually go ahead and erase it. All right, but before you do that, make sure everything is dry. Okay, so don't try to erase it or wash it off when the paint is not completely I'm going to try to get some of this off my hands, but I pretty much have paint all over everything. And we have been doing a lot of sparkle work. So I live in a townhouse, it's 3 floors. And because we do a lot of sparkle work, especially with the kiddies, there's a lot of sparkles down here. And I certainly clean the art room in between classes and whatnot. Um, but sparkles get everywhere. So there's a lot of them down here in the art room. And I'm looking on the floor and there's sparkles on the floor. And then when you go up on the second floor, there's sparkles, but there's not as many sparkles as there are down here in the art room. Then you go up on the third floor, there's not a lot of sparkles, but as you're walking around, you see a certain glimmer here and there. So as a result, my my house is sparkling. So I like to say my house is sparkling clean, and anyone who comes to visit leaves with a shine. And they have kind of resigned themselves to that fact that when they come to visit, they're going to leave with a shine. Okay, so here is our finished piece. This is called the Moon Mandala. All right, and these little guidelines are going to come. These little guidelines are going to come off. Okay, once the paint is dry. All right, my darlings. So, like I said, once you do this, you're just going to be so in love with dotted mandalas and so on and so forth. You're going to want to try like a whole bunch of different zippy ones. I have put dotted mandalas on rocks, um, heavy watercolor paper, you name it. I've painted it and dotted it. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so thank you. Thank you for joining me. I know this was a little bit of a long tutorial. I'm looking at the clock. However, like I said, stop it. Stop the clock. Don't stop the clock. Stop the recording and, do it in 2 or 3 sittings. It doesn't have to be done all at once. Okay, my darlings, thank you so much for joining me. And thank you, Drake Council on Aging, because besides coming up with the awesome idea to do these tutorials, they are totally willing to share them. They share them with GHAA, which is the Great Havel Art Association. Um, they're seen on DATV, which is Drake at Access TV, and also BATV, which is Billerica Access TV. So they are just an amazing group of people. Even though the center is not open, the staff is in the building. So call them if you need anything. If they can't help you, they will connect you with someone who can. Okay? Joni, Jones Art Gallery. All right? I will see you next time. In the meantime, happy painting.